Hey everyone, welcome back to Techie Nester, the place where we dive deep into movies that made waves, missed the mark, or completely flew under the radar. Whether it's a forgotten classic, a controversial remake, or the latest release everyone's talking about, we break it down with no filter. If you love bold takes, honest reviews, and a bit of movie nostalgia, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's jump in. The rage virus is back. It's been nearly 3 decades since the outbreak first devastated the UK, and now, 28 years later, is about to take us deeper into the apocalypse than ever before. Whether you're a longtime fan or just diving into this terrifying world, here's everything you need to know before watching 28 Years Later. It all began with 28 Days Later, 2002, directed by the visionary Danny Boyle, a name you might also recognize from Slumdog Millionaire, which won 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. Boyle has a reputation for genre-defying work, having also directed Trainspotting, 127 Hours, Sunshine, and Steve Jobs. What makes 28 Days Later unique among zombie films is that it's not really about zombies. It's about a rage virus. A group of well-meaning animal rights activists broke into a lab to free chimpanzees, not realizing the animals were infected with an experimental virus designed to amplify aggression. One mistake, one bite, and the world fell apart in days. The virus spreads in seconds, turning people into blood-vomiting, fast-moving killing machines, a sharp contrast to the shambling undead we were used to. Boyle's decision to shoot on digital cameras gave the film its now iconic, gritty, almost documentary-like feel. Lesser known fact? They had to film the empty streets of London at dawn with limited takes and road closures, often assisted by the police. It was one of the most daring guerrilla shoots in modern cinema. When Cillian Murphy's character Jim wakes up in a deserted hospital 28 days after the outbreak, the audience sees London like never before. Empty, silent, eerie. That opening scene, him wandering through abandoned landmarks, became legendary, setting the tone for a film that was not just horror, but a haunting meditation on civilization, collapse, and survival. 28 weeks later, 2007, picked up half a year after the original outbreak and was directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, a Spanish filmmaker best known for his psychological thriller Intacto. Fresnadillo brought a sharper, more chaotic tone and emphasized moral ambiguity and military control. The film opens with one of the most unforgettable and controversial sequences in horror. A man, Don, escapes a countryside cottage while abandoning his wife Alice to the infected. It was a gut-wrenching start that instantly told viewers no one is safe and heroism isn't guaranteed. The story shifts to a so-called safe zone, in London known as District 1, where NATO forces have helped reestablish order. Refugees begin to return. Among them are Don and his 2 children, Tammy and Andy. But when the children sneak out of the compound and discover their mother, shocker, still alive, everything unravels. Alice turns out to be a rare genetic carrier, infected, but asymptomatic. And Don, well, he gives her a kiss. The virus mutates and spreads in seconds, triggering a second catastrophic outbreak right inside the military compound. The film explores how structure and science fail in the face of chaos. One moment, the military has everything under control. The next, they're executing civilians in the streets to contain the infection. It's one of the most grimly realistic portrayals of how quickly governments can shift from protection to eradication. Behind the scenes, 28 weeks later was praised for its intensity but also sparked debate. Critics were divided over its more action-heavy tone compared to 28 Days Later's psychological dread. But others saw it as a natural evolution, a brutal, timely warning about misplaced trust and authority. Juan Carlos Fresnadillo used handheld cameras and extreme close-ups to immerse viewers in the horror. It's disorienting, intentional, and highly effective. And though it lacked Danny Boyle's poetic grit, it delivered unforgettable moments, including the chilling image of infected pouring into a darkened subway tunnel lit only by night vision. Lesser known fact? The terrifying scene where a helicopter slices through a swarm of infected was nearly cut from the script. Producers worried it was too over the top. Instead, it became one of the most iconic and controversial kills in modern horror. Now, after years of speculation, 28 years later is real. Danny Boyle returns as director, and Alex Garland is back on the script, the original duo that made the first film a modern horror masterpiece. Why is this important? Because these two shaped the tone and terror that redefined the zombie genre. Their return promises something more than a typical horror sequel. Expect a deeper narrative, social commentary, and of course, raw, terrifying tension. Cillian Murphy is confirmed to return to the 28 Days Later franchise, reprising his role as Jim. However, he will not appear in the upcoming film, 28 Years Later, set to release on June 20th, 2025. Instead, Murphy will make his return in the sequel, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, scheduled for release in January 2026. His role in this film is expected to be significant, possibly setting the stage for the trilogy's conclusion. While Murphy's return hasn't been officially confirmed for the first film, rumors suggest he may still make a cameo or be involved behind the scenes as a producer. The new lead for 28 Years Later is Aaron Taylor Johnson, joined by Jodie Comer and Jack O'Connell, forming a strong, emotionally complex cast for what's expected to be a grittier, darker story. This next chapter reportedly centers around survivors from the outskirts of society, long abandoned by the world, who now face a second viral resurgence. But this time, it might not be contained to just the UK. So what sets 28 Years Later apart? For starters, scale. This isn't a localized outbreak anymore. Sources hint that the rage virus has gone global. We may see new regions, militarized quarantine zones, and even failed state responses. There's also speculation about mutation. Could the rage virus evolve? Could there be different stages of infection? Fans believe the film may explore how the virus affects children born during the apocalypse, genetically altered or immune. Danny Boyle's work is never just about jump scares. 28 Days Later was a reflection on isolation and the breakdown of society. In a post-COVID world, 28 Years Later is likely to hit even harder. We're expecting commentary on government overreach, bioethics, the fragility of global systems, and how people adapt or lose their humanity in long-term survival situations. The teaser trailer racked up 10 million views in just 48 hours. Fans are already analyzing every frame, from possible callbacks to original scenes to new infected variants seen in shadows. Some are even predicting this will launch a new trilogy, possibly ending with 28 decades later. Ambitious? Maybe. But the hype is real and growing. With 28 Years Later, we're not just revisiting a fan-favorite horror series. We're witnessing the next evolution of survival cinema. This isn't about heroes anymore. It's about endurance, legacy, and what happens when the virus isn't the only thing that's mutated. Expect a grimmer world, more desperate characters, and a haunting reminder. In the aftermath of civilization, what truly remains human? Whether this closes a trilogy or opens the door to more stories, one thing's for sure, 28 Years Later will leave a mark. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more deep dives on upcoming films and let me know in the comments. Are you ready to face the rage again?